Good morning, Freebird viewers. We're at another winter day, although it's a beautiful winter day in Chattanooga. So we're going to try to take care of some maintenance today. First, we'll board Freebird on a little plank I made for easing the boarding. And what we're going to do today is change antifreeze on one of our engines. We did the other engine last year, and so we're going to swap out antifreeze down in the engine room. One nice thing about the Freebird engine compartment is there's quite a bit of room in here. I can't stand up, but easily crawl around. There's even a little bit of carpet down here where it does get narrower. The house batteries are under this carpet. In the back lazarette and back part of the engine room, it's actually tall enough for someone like Maureen, who's 5'2", can stand, but I'm 6'4", so a little crowded for me. But the antifreeze, what we're doing today, I'm not going to get all 15 gallons out because there's always antifreeze that gets caught in various coolers and areas of the engine. But what I do is, instead of letting it go too long, every 4 or 5 years max, I'll drain out usually about 8 gallons is what comes out pretty easy, and then replace that with new. And I use the straight antifreeze and then mix it 50-50 with distilled water. The manual says to go 40% antifreeze and 60% water, but I know if I go 50-50, that's just more rust preventative properties in the antifreeze in the engine. And then if I need to add a little bit of water at some time or another, I'm free to do that and not worry about too much water in the antifreeze. So this job's pretty simple. One of the critical things for this job is a decent flashlight. You guys have probably seen me using this flashlight on some of my other videos. This thing has a tipping head. It's LED. It goes on and it's super bright. Like this one is a Milwaukee, and I've got other Milwaukee tools, so the batteries are interchangeable. What we're gonna do is come down here. This is a pretty simple job, good flashlight. And I do need a pump to pump the new antifreeze in, but this nipple right here is one of the drain points on this engine. And this is the easiest one to get at. We're gonna start with this one. You can see there's another one. There's another one right here. Where is that one? There. But we're gonna go with this one. It's a little bit lower, and just start draining antifreeze into gallon jugs. So the first thing we need to do is remove the radiator cap. That lets air get into the engine, into the cooling cavities as we release the water. And then down here, sorry for the shaky camera. I've got this started already. This is the jug under the nipple. You can see it's draining out real slow right now. I'm short a hand, so I'm gonna open that nipple up to drain a lot more so we can get this antifreeze drained out. That's a lot heftier strain. It does take a while to do 8 gallons like this, but this way you make a very little mess, and it's just a little easier for me to do it. I think if they did this at the boat dealer, they'd have a pump that, hook hoses to this and pull it out a lot quicker. But I got time. I'm retired. I like doing it. So we're gonna take a little break from the antifreeze changing project. This is the old antifreeze. We're draining 8 gallons, and I only had 5 of these old jugs saved. These are distilled water jugs. So I'm gonna take it up and empty it. Our marina provides a place where you recycle your old antifreeze and also your old oil, so you gotta make sure you dispose of this stuff correctly. I actually was able to drain just a quart shy of 10 gallons out of the engine, so I need to pick up another gallon of antifreeze and another gallon of distilled water, and we're doing 10 gallons of the 15 that is in each engine. So the next step is pumping the antifreeze back in the engine. I bought this little pump. It's inexpensive. It's actually made for pumping diesel fuel into heavy equipment, but I bought it to use I may end up using it for that, but we're gonna use it to pump the antifreeze in. I don't know if you can see, I've got one shorter hose attached. That's gonna go down into a 5-gallon bucket where I mix the antifreeze and water. And then the longer hose goes back up into the top of the engine. I bought the fittings, little different fittings from Ace Hardware. We got a great Ace Hardware locally that has all kinds of different size fittings and screws and stainless stuff. So they're great to have around when you have a boat. Now we've got the pump ready to go. You see the one hose runs up into the top of the engine, and then the hose on the inlet side is down into this bucket. You want to use a very clean bucket, not something old and nasty. So this one I washed out good. And then we mix the antifreeze and water together in there. I'll probably do a batch of 4 gallons at a time. And this is a 24-volt system, but I'm just tapping into one of the 8D AGM batteries to grab 12 volts to run the pump. So I've poured the antifreeze and water in the 5-gallon bucket. Now I've got 4 gallons in there. I do need to prime this top hose. This pump's not self-priming. I mean, once you get water in the impeller, it'll prime, but it's just the first time I'm using this particular pump. So I need to pull that hose out of the top of the engine and pour a little water down in it just to get the prime going. All right, let's get started pumping her in. So I thought I'd give you an idea how quickly this pump can empty this bucket. Sorry about the noise of the pump, but I like to use that clear hose so that you can see the green going in it. It's kind of hard to tell how fast that bucket's going down, but I forget how many gallons per minute this pump is. But it was made to use a 1.5-inch hose, I believe. And I've narrowed that down to 3/4 inch. I thought that'd slow it down. I'm really pleased with the flow as this pump pumps this water in. I'm keeping an eye on the top of the engine too to make sure you don't get it too full. It actually was sucking up against the side of the bucket, so it's cutting down on the flow. And you can hear now that we're starting to cavitate. It's amazing. This pump is made for moving large volumes of diesel oil. So it pulled this probably less than 30 seconds, 5 gallons empty. I was almost afraid it was going to overflow because the engine, you can probably hear now, I'll be quiet for a second. You hear the antifreeze settling back in down. So I'm going to wait a while and let that antifreeze settle down in and the air gurgle out before I do the next 4 gallons. And then I need to run and grab that extra gallon at the auto parts store. But we're just about done with this project. The final step will be kind of starting the engine, running a little bit, just kind of burping, what I call burping all the air out of the system. But we're 95% done now.
I'd really like to thank all of Freebird's subscribers. We really enjoy reading your comments and answering your questions.